Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage. I have reviewed about 400 Indian movies on the channel, and that also includes 3 Shankar films so far. Years ago we first saw Antidone and then a little bit later 2.0, which we both liked fine. And just recently we watched Onion, which at least I really loved. So I thought it might be a good idea to go back to Shankar's beginnings and watch his very first film, the 1993 Tamil language Masala entertainer Gentleman. It tells the story of Kicha, played by Arjun Sarja, a small business owner who has a secret life as a modern-day Indian version of Robin Hood, a thief who in disguise steals from the rich to give to the poor. And such a theft marks the whole opening credits sequence of Gentleman, and it's pretty glorious. The first 10 minutes already feature so many wonderful stunts that you are getting hooked immediately. We get car chases, funny disguises, explosions, motorcycles that fly over a train and much more. The action is really fun and also quite over the top and hilarious. Vehicles just lift up into the air without there being any kind of ramp to justify that. But that doesn't really matter too much because you just appreciate these practical effects and the pure joy of it. There's also a pretty impetuous nature to it. Calling it amateurish would be mean, but there are certainly a lot of strange cuts, transitions and pretty loose laws of physics involved in the action here. When it comes to car chases, flying motorcycles or the fight scenes, it all just feels a bit impetuous or clumsy. But that's also kind of charming and I really enjoyed the heck out of it whenever Gentleman is going for some action. In general, watching this film almost 30 years after its initial release was certainly quite interesting and for the most part fun. It was a big commercial success when it came out, won several awards, and I assume it must have been pretty influential. I'm not sure how many movies like this were made before, but watching it today, it feels very much like that familiar masala movie formula. At its center, we have a protagonist who is fighting for a good cause, who is having a tragic background that's not revealed until almost the very end, of course through a flashback. We have the already mentioned energetic action, we get a romance plot that involves 2 women who have feelings for our hero, the more traditional Sushila, played by Madhu, and Sugandhi, a younger, more extrovert, outgoing and little bit crazy woman from the big city, played by Subhashri. Then there's the comedic relief sidekick Mani, played by Gundamani, who has another comedic relief sidekick for himself, Bablu, played by Senthil. And a special mention should also go out to the older woman who works for Kicha, who is adding some extra comedy on top of it. Unfortunately, I don't know the name of the actress. So, we have the action, the comedy, the romance, and obviously what mustn't be missed, the song and dance numbers, which are easily one of the movie's biggest highlights. The soundtrack was composed by none other than A.R. Rahman. There are 5 big numbers and they are all pretty fantastic. The music, dance choreographies, the backgrounds, camera work and the emotions that are conveyed in them. It's pretty much what you want from a movie like this and Gentleman delivers. At least one of the songs definitely comes a little bit out of nowhere and doesn't really add much to the story, but it's also easily the craziest one and a song that certainly sticks in your mind. It's called Chico Buco Raile and in retrospect it perfectly and wonderfully encapsulates that 90s vibe. The dance moves and the style totally reminded me of Michael Jackson and it's really so much fun. The lead or star dancer in this segment is Prabhu Deva, who's also just in the movie as a guest for this one song. He also worked as a choreographer for the movie and he's really great. Which is probably why Shankar also cast him as the lead for his next film after Gentleman, which was Kadalan. Shankar has a nice grip on these different masala elements, but it's also not the firmest grip, which can be seen as a flaw, but I assume it was also completely by design and totally in line with the taste of the audience at that time. It's a 2 hours and 40-minute long movie and the pace is pretty chill. There's little to no urgency felt and it seems to have all the time in the world to alternately serve you its entertainment values. Like I said earlier, it's not until almost the end of it when we find out our protagonist's actual motivations. But since one is familiar with the idea of Robin Hood, it's also not too hard to relate to the story and it's just a nice and comforting film to watch. It's probably not a big surprise that the humor, especially the stuff with Mani and Bablu, wasn't all working that well for me personally. There's just a lot that gets lost in translation and also a lot that didn't really age that well. And since this is almost 30 years old, there are also some rather questionable moral lessons and gender dynamics. There's really some hardcore mansplaining in this and you might have to turn a blind eye to some aspects. But in comparison to other movies from that era or even some from today, it's not too bad, and when Kicha is behaving pretty horribly, he's at least called out for it and he knows it was wrong. And I think a trademark of Shankar is already in place in his very first movie, which is his pretty direct social message that's becoming more front and center at the very end. But it fits, because again, it's a Robin Hood tale after all. Unfortunately though, it also misses out on bringing everything to a better, more cohesive conclusion, which also happens a lot in these movies. And this concerns once again primarily the two female characters. It would have been interesting, for example, how Sugandhi deals with that very difficult turn of events towards the end, but we barely see her again. It's all a bit rash, and I'm also not the biggest fan of that courtroom approach, but it's okay. At least we get some nice action again in the finale, because while we get some fights throughout, that crazy car and motorcycle action from the beginning promises something that's not followed up on until the very end. And I also have to at least mention that the whole shopping mall action brawl is extremely inspired by Jackie Chan's Police Story from 1985. They even copy the same big stunt. In general, the action has a lot of that Jackie Chan flavor, but that's cool. Nothing too wrong about trying to imitate the best. So, in German I'd say, wenn man sich auf das gemütliche, alte Masala Konzept von GENTLEMAN einlässt, bekommt man durchaus äußerst nette Unterhaltung geboten, die einen tollen Vorgeschmack gibt auf das, was Shankar in seinen späteren Filmen fortführte. Und die Musik von A.R. Rahman ist richtig gut. I give Gentleman 7 out of 10. It's more like 6.7, but I don't do that. Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about Gentleman. And also let me know what is your favorite film by Shankar. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd and also on Patreon, simply at @JimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.